So this is Kelly Fox. I'm here with the Front Row Report with Cold Kingdom today. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Hey, this is Danny.
And this is Zach.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming out today. We're here at Northern Invasion, and compared to some of the other acts here, you guys are kind of new to the scene. You guys have been around for 2 or 3 years officially. So what are you guys hoping to get out of Northern Invasion? What's the goal?
Fun. We would like to have a good time. And, of course, we want to, meet new people. The great thing about festivals is, we're exposed to so many people that normally we wouldn't have the opportunity to meet. And so getting that chance to put our music into people's ears and hopefully, they can see if they like it or not. And hopefully most of them end up really loving it. That's what I get out of it the most.
I mean, festivals are probably the most fun aspect because, when you come to a show that's at any other venue, you've got sometimes 4 or 5 of the exact same band, and that can be tough because a lot of the times promoters will kind of pair up the same genre of bands, and so you sit through one band, you've sat through them all because you get the exact same 5 bands, and which can sometimes be great and sometimes just be atrocious. But when you come to a festival, you just have an onslaught of different genres and bands that maybe you haven't necessarily been exposed to. So for me, it's great to play with a lot of new bands that maybe we wouldn't necessarily get a chance to play with on a promoter putting a show together. So you get so many different walks of life at a festival, and to me that's what I get out of it is I get to experience so much new music.
Sure, there's a ton of variety at Northern Invasion, especially today. It's like 90 different genres, and it's awesome. So in your experience, which is like kind of the best way or the most effective way to reach new audiences? Is it festivals? Is it headlining tours? Is it opening for larger tours? Like, what's been your experience?
I'm going to blanket statement with that. Yes.
All of it. We'll take all of it. We were the first band to play Northern Invasion ever 2 years ago.
Wow.
And that was massive exposure for us, and that was amazing, and festivals were great. But I think to date, probably the tour with Shinedown, because that brought us over to the West Coast. That put us in front of so many eyes that were going, Cold Kingdom, who the heck is that? And we got a great response from it, and I think that's probably the biggest one. So yeah, opening on a tour was probably the best.
Yeah, I would say each one of them has their own unique aspect of what's really beneficial to a band. Playing Northern Invasion 2 years ago really opened up a lot of eyes around the Midwest even that weren't accustomed to what Cold Kingdom did as a band. We do a lot of headlining stuff around the region that we hit new markets and we hit new people. We do tours with national bands, we open, but we get to be in front of an audience that wasn't necessarily coming out for us. They were coming out for the headliner, but we got a chance to be in front of them. So I think each one of them has their own unique benefit to it. And I will take any which one of them any day that I can possibly get. Yeah.
Regarding your tour with Shinedown, do you think like playing with those huge bands that have been like established? I mean, Shinedown's been around for forever, and As Lions is making huge strides in the industry. Do you think that's like kind of changed the way that you approach your craft or the way that you market yourself?
They led by example. I mean, we're talking about it, the guys in both of those bands and the crew, every single person on that tour showed us how it should be done. I mean, these were the nicest guys. They worked their butts off, and they treated everybody well and with respect. So we learned a ton and would love to, follow in their example.
Yeah, as far as doing national tours are going to be such a completely different beast, and so seeing how a national tour was done was, like Danny said, one of those things that it's just like, it's so eye-opening to see the production and the amount of work that goes into all of it. And a lot of people look at touring and being in a band as this huge party, and just like, you get the term party like a rock star, but it doesn't really happen that way. I think the only nights for an entire month that we got to just hang out and relax were a couple of nights off during that tour, you know, but you got to see the amount of work that goes into it, and a lot those national tours are nothing but work, and you get to have your fun, but being in a band is a lot of hard work, you know?
And the people who do party generally don't last very long. They burn out so fast. So, yeah, you have to take everything seriously.
Yeah, I think people back home are always expecting to hear these like epic stories of crazy things that are happening, and oh, you guys are just off having so much fun. It's like, no, we are exhausted and we're working really hard. And I had a Diet Coke with my dinner. Thank you very much. Like it's, you know.
16 to 20 hour days sometimes, you know, and you drive to a venue and then you set up, you wait, you play your 25-30 minute set, and then you get done, you load everything up, you sell your merch, and then you drive maybe to get to the next destination. You get maybe 4 hours of sleep and you're doing it again the very next day.
It's super cyclical.
Yeah, it leaves very little time for that party aspect, you know, so that was the biggest thing for me about seeing the work ethic that goes into those big tours.
But still, I mean, best job ever.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a ton of fun, just not like, you know, parties all the time and super glamorous.
Common misconception.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about, you guys used Indiegogo to raise the money to do your first EP. Why did you decide to go that route?
Well, the biggest thing is that I think with a lot of these crowdfunding aspects, you know, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, any of those crowdfunding, I think the biggest thing about it to us was that it really gives fans the chance to involve themselves in the next step of what the band is doing. A lot of the times, like, you know, when you're on more national level and you have investments from record labels or anybody that's really pumping money into what you're doing, they have a say-so in what's going on with it. Whereas when you give the listener and the people that have supported you from the startup of what you're doing, you give them the option to say, I want to be a part of what you're doing. It's kind of one of those things that now you just made your fans a silent investor to move you forward into something that's going on. So like, and it's tough because when you're a band, a DIY band, a lot of this is self-investment. So you get to a point that it's like, you know, this is not a cheap thing to do. And when you're not making money off of playing shows and your full-time job isn't, you know, you're paying bills, it becomes really difficult. But you say, hey, we're doing this and this is the next step of it. If you want to be a part of it, I think it really gives people a sense of appreciation because they feel like they were a big part of your next step.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I've done a lot of crowd participation where I pay for bands that I listen to and I go support their Indiegogo because I know that I get to be a part of that next step, and that's awesome to me, and I get to be the first one to hear that new music, you know, so that's cool to me.
It's enormously empowering, both for the people supporting us, I feel like, and it's empowering for us too, because, you know, how we saw how well that Indiegogo campaign did, and how well we see that things were happening on the road, and this is with us doing everything DIY and seeing how well this is going with people supporting us in a grassroots type style, that's shaping our entire model of how we do things moving forward, and it's really exciting, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's an instant poll where you actually get something out of it, and the people that put into it are able to say like, hey, these guys are huge now, and I made their EP happen.
And when it comes down to it, that's who we're making the music for. I mean, we're making the music for, of course, for ourselves, but ultimately, we want to make people happy with what we're putting into their, you know, hands and into their ears, and that's a really easy way to do it.
And I think it's a gratification of seeing that what you're doing is relating. People are relating to it, you know. So you get to see that, like, well, okay, maybe we're doing something right because we've got a very big family. Because we don't like to call people fans. I know that sounds cliche, but you know, when people are doing the Indiegogo and stuff like that, they're supporting you, which is what a family should do, you know. And so I think that's almost an instant gratification to any band to say, oh my God, I can't believe this did as well as it did, because you're connecting to people that you don't necessarily get an opportunity to connect with either face to face, or you know, there's people out in Sweden that are listening to our music on Spotify, but we're connecting with them somehow. When you go, okay, we're doing something right, and that feels good.
And we're taking a lot of that feedback and a lot of that work together. You know, a lot of people, and who said, you know, Sweden or people from overseas wanted lyric pages. People have been saying we want lyric pages forever, and I will be the first to admit I did not want to put the lyrics up. I was like, they can figure it out, because I wanted people to make it, you know, make the words their own. But finally, we're just like, okay, they
Time to do
they
it.
want it.
Time to do
We're
it.
gonna give them the lyric sheets. But also part of that Indiegogo campaign, there were a few people who wanted to work and collaborate with us on some songwriting projects. And so they donated X amount of money and they worked with us to create some music, which is so cool because I feel like I know those people inside and out now, and now they have this music that we put together with them. And I don't know, what a cool way to not only raise some money but put some music in their hands directly in a collaborative manner.
Yeah, you become so much more connected with those people.
Yeah.
So finally, what is next for Cold Kingdom? What can we expect to see from you guys coming up?
Well, right now we are working with our management team, the Browning Group, on the next steps. We want to tour. We love being on the road. We love doing, this is what we want to do as a career. Like we don't look at it as a job. We look at it as a lifestyle. And so we want to continue to do this. So as a DIY band with the music industry right now, that can be a little bit difficult because they want support from a record label. So we're working really hard, and our management team is absolutely incredible.
Yes.
They've been just working their butts off on new national tours, and so there's a lot of stuff that's kind of behind the curtain right now that obviously we can't divulge on. But for the time being, we're keeping a lot of things kind of high and tight as far as regional shows and stuff like that. Trying to stay pretty close to home. June and July will be a little bit sketchy. I've got my third child being born in July. Yeah, so it's so we're taking a little bit of time off so that I can be home with my wife and kids, and but after that, it's just we're hoping that our fall through our winter time is gonna be full blown touring, and hopefully a warmer climate than Minnesota.
Get out of the Midwest in the winter. That's always the goal.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming out and taking a minute to talk with us today. This has been Kelly Fox with the Front Row Report and Cold Kingdom.
Thank you very much.